I have no secrets. I went from having to stop running because I was too tight and too weak to now being able to run as much as I want without getting injured. And it's because I rebuilt the gaps in my strength and mobility. So let's look at the mobility goals that helped me get to this point, including the targets that we're working towards, the form cues that helped me get there, the entry point that I started at, and most importantly, why we're doing them in the first place. Our lowest point for calf mobility is 2 feet, building up our FHL calf raises. We start in week 1 doing our reps close to the wall. Then as the weeks go on, we go further and further out, because the further you get from the wall, the more strength that you're building and the more that strength transfers to your running. And our long-term goal is 15 reps with 20% of your body weight loaded, single leg, using a slant to get a full stretch with perfect form, so there's no cheating. That means flexing your quad to keep your legs straight and flexing your shin at the bottom to pull yourself into a deeper stretch. The biggest misconception holding runners back is that you need stiff ankles to land and push off when running. But the truth is that the stiffer and tighter your ankles get, the less power you'll be able to produce, because your body will never be able to produce power from a position that it can't even move through with strength. Because once you start building up controlled resilience through these full stretch positions, then when you land and push off when running, you'll have enough power to maintain those positions without breaking down. Our lowest entry point here is the couch stretch, working towards knee against wall, chest fully upright. But anyone can work towards that by simply setting their knee further from the wall and their foot lower on the wall. Now, just building up to the ability to be fully upright, knee against wall in an active position is a great goal to have. But I've noticed that the most protected runners can all strengthen out of this fully stretched position as well. So we don't just stop here. Our goal and targets is our reverse Nordics, a 5-second control, shoulders to the floor, then controlled extension back up. And our form is super important. We flex the glutes to lock in the stretch at the front. We own the bottom position, holding it, then only control up with our strength. If you look at our running stride, it takes this same fully stretched position and you have to pull your leg out of it to go into your next running stride. So the stronger you get out of this fully stretched position, the faster your turnover will be, which makes you a more protected runner. And once you can load your full body weight onto your hip flexors and quads, then running becomes super easy in comparison. And note that there's no rush on doing them on the ground, because you can elevate your feet to make them a whole lot easier, gradually lowering the elevation as you get stronger. Plus, if all you did was regain this ability, then you would be ahead of most runners in terms of not being limited in the front of the hip. And for me personally, outer hip issues were one of the main reasons why I had to stop running originally, because I kept getting IT band pain and knee caving when I'd run. And now we have an effective way to start unlocking that outer hip that's super stubborn. It starts on a wall like this. Put one leg up, cross the other over your knee, and then let your knee sink to your chest. And most people see this and they think it's a passive stretch, but when you're pushing your ankle into your knee, you activate the outer glute, which means you're getting strength through the stretch. And our long-term goal that we're working towards in targets is being able to load with our body weight on just the outer hip, using a slight incline to load at the perfect angle. Front leg at 90 degrees, back leg straight, holding for 60 seconds. But anyone can get into this position by increasing the angle of the bench and increasing the amount of hand assistance you use to take load off of the outer hip. So for me, going from someone who had tight and limited hips holding me back from running to now having them as one of my greatest assets that help me run more than most people, I know that this route is possible for anyone. Because once you can load with your full body weight in those positions, then loading with not as much of a stretch and not as much of force on the outer hip becomes easy when running in comparison. Next, hamstrings, which is the breaking point for so many runners. So our entry point is light, with elephant walks, using as much hand assistance as needed, holding each rep for 5 seconds. Do all of your reps on one side with that 5-second hold, bending and extending. Then do all of your reps on the other side. And it's our goal to lower that hand elevation week by week as we gain new mobility until we're able to do them at our goal, which is fist to the floor. From there, we have a great baseline of hamstring mobility, but most people are still tight through the back of the knee and in the calf. So we start to stretch our hamstrings along with the calf and back of knee using a slant board. Again, one side at a time, holding for 60 seconds on each side. That's our route in rebuild before we move into targets, where we keep the slant board so our calves and back of knee are still in play. And now we're using no more than 25% of our body weight in the Jefferson curl to gain real strength and mobility through the hamstrings and through the lower back. Quads stay flexed so the legs stay straight. Then you're rounding from the top of the spine to the bottom of the spine with a 5-second descent, gaining control through every range of rounding. Pause at the bottom and then extend back up again with control. 5 years ago, I herniated a disc in my lower back, and at that point, I couldn't even bend my back this much. So no wonder I couldn't run. So if you've ever had a back injury or hamstring injury before, you may look at the Jefferson curls and think, that's not possible for me. But I promise you, I'm living proof that you can go from broken in the doctor's office to regaining full amounts of bend in the hamstring and lower back without any pain at all. And I could have recovered so much faster, but I tried to rush my progress. So this only works if you build it up progressively, regaining the ability to do your elephant walks, fist to floor, then spending the 8 weeks in rebuild, doing your single leg pike stretch to gain that length through the back of the knee and in the calf to match your hamstring mobility. Then you can start loading your Jefferson curls patiently, only building up to a maximum of 25% of your body weight. Now for the feet, I think the most important point to look at is what modern shoes do to our feet and how to reverse the negative effects. First of all, I do run in traditional running shoes with a lot of cushion, but I've earned that right because I've rebuilt my strength and mobility in the gaps that running shoes take away from us. So while modern running shoes will cramp up our feet and add a ton of cushion so our feet don't even have to work, making them weaker and tighter over time, we can instead rebuild that lost strength and mobility through the foot, starting at our entry point, which is this foot stretch. The easiest entry point being leaning forwards, because you'll see there's less load on my feet. And every inch that I move backwards, I'm loading my feet more, which means it's a gradient scale of ability that you can find a level at regardless of your starting point. And equally, you can make it as hard as you want by just leaning back and loading the foot more. And the form is simple. Use padding for comfort, plant your toes into the ground, and lean back into a comfortable stretch that doesn't feel bad. And our long-term goal for foot ability is actually here in our Peterson step-ups. And yes, this does load the knees, but take a look at my foot. We're strengthening out of a stretch on every rep. And the form here is the most important part because you manually raise the heel, lower down, tapping the heel, then extend back up with your foot. So here in the foot stretch, our target is mainly to unlock the bottom of the foot, get rid of that tightness. But then by the time we get to targets and we're working on our Peterson step-ups, we have an unlocked foot. So we can start gaining strength out of that stretch on every rep. So even though modern shoes might not be on your side to keeping healthy feet, you can still use them and have healthy feet by rebuilding the gaps in your strength and mobility patiently, starting with the foot stretch, then going into the Peterson step-ups. And our exact target here is 15 reps with 50% of your body weight loaded, showing that you have true rewiring between your knee and your foot, which you should naturally have, so that issues like plantar fasciitis and foot tightness become as close as humanly possible to being impossible to get.